The Oklahoma Sooners have a big late season matchup with a former Big 8, Big 12 rival that they've pretty much dominated. I mean, let's not call them a rival. It's a team that they've played a bunch and they've won a bunch against. That's Mizzou. What's that game looking like? Coming up next on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
College football is back, and the Locked On College Football Podcast kicks off the action with a live season preview at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, August 20, on the Locked On College 24/7 streaming YouTube channel. This 4-part series covers each of the 4 major conferences with discussion on which ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC teams have a shot at the expanded college football playoffs. Be sure to check out this special that Jay was featured on with Locked On SEC, streaming on Locked On College Football's 24/7 YouTube streaming channel or on Amazon Fire TV, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, SEC time. Mizzou going to Columbia to face the Tigers, a team, again, that Oklahoma has dominated in the all-time series. Haven't played them in quite some time now. What is your first impression of the Mizzou Tigers as we get ready for this game?
Now, the one thing I'll give to Missouri, they're bringing back a lot of players on the offense side of the ball. So the expectation is that it should be really good offensively, right? Luther Burden is considered the best wide receiver in the country, probably one of the top offensive weapons out there. I say between him and Travis Hunter, as far as like the top athlete when it comes to the wide receiver position. Brady Cook's expected to have another really big season coming up. They brought in a few transfers at the running back spot, right? And so for me, it's, Theo Weiss is there, former Oklahoma wide receiver. So they've got some weapons and everything. And so they've got something to be prepared for. Defensively, there are a lot of questions, right? Of course, Caden Green went there as well on the offensive line. But defensively, losing all those staff members and then losing those players to the draft, hey, I don't know what they're going to look like on the defensive side of the ball. They've got some work. They may end up having to play Williams Nwaneri, the big 5-star freshman, earlier than they probably want to. And so to me, I say by then we should know who Missouri is, right? We've talked about this with some of the other ones. This is a November game. We'll know who they are at this point. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year, even though the schedule is super favorable. But also, as you said, this ain't no rivalry. This is just another game against another team that we used to see in the Big 8 and the Big 12, right? Let's not make this more than what it actually is.
That's right. What's become a rivalry is the fan bases arguing back and forth about recruiting and NIL and all that jazz. Doesn't matter. Missouri's a good team. They're a good team. They could have as good a record as they had last year, but maybe not be as good of a team as they were last year. Now, Brady Cook, Luther Burden, that's a lethal combination.
Yep.
That's a really, really good combination. Luther Burden could be the Heisman winner this year. You never know exactly how that's going to go. I just don't think that defensively they're going to be as good as they were last year. Their defensive coordinator now at LSU. They've got transition happening. Coming into this season, according to the SP Plus rankings, they are 19th on the offensive side of the ball. They're 19th on defense, 8th on offense, and 45th on special teams. So SP Plus really, really likes Mizzou. They're coming in at number 11 overall, just a couple spots ahead of Oklahoma. And I think, again, this is going to be a team that will put up some numbers. I think this is going to be a team that defensively will be okay, but I just don't know if it's going to be consistent. Eli Drinkwitz had just had one season above 6 wins in 4 seasons at Mizzou, and it was last year. Can they replicate that? I don't know. Again, I think the schedule sets up for them to have a good record, but maybe they won't be as good of a team as they were last year. If they don't win 10 games, to me, it's a disastrous season because it sets up for them to be so much to have a playoff contending year this year. I mean, if we just go look at their schedule and what they'll be facing, it's not a murderer's row of teams. They'll play. So I'm just trying to pull it up. Murray State, that's a win. Buffalo, win. Boston College, probably a win. Vanderbilt, a win. Now they got to go to Texas A&M. That could be a difficult matchup for them. They've got Massachusetts, win. They're going to UMass. Interesting. Then they host Auburn. I think they beat Auburn, but as a lot of Auburn fans have loved to tell us, the Tigers are going to be better this year. So that may be trouble for Mizzou. Then they go to Alabama. They play Kalen DeBoer, Jalen Milroe in Tuscaloosa. I don't think they win that game. And then they've got Oklahoma. Then they finish with South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. They should be able to rattle off 3 straight wins to end the season. So to me, they have a chance to have another 10-win season, but that schedule is nothing. It's cupcake. Besides going to Alabama and going to A&M.
Yeah, having Alabama and Oklahoma. Yeah, having Alabama and Oklahoma in pseudo back-to-backs because there's a bye week in between the Oklahoma game and the Alabama game for them. Yeah, their schedule's very favorable, right? There's no reason why this schedule, why they should not, like I said, run the table in this one. Like the Boston College game is going to be interesting to be Bill O'Brien's first time back as a college head coach. They should be awful. But there's a good opportunity for that to, be an upset. We've seen that before. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz has been he was part of Appalachian State, and they're infamous for going out there knocking off teams that they're not supposed to. But those teams are actually really good. I don't think Boston College is going to be that good this season whatsoever. But that Texas A&M game is really going to tell us a lot about them and Texas A&M. With them traveling to College Station. They lose that game, that may make this season fall apart. Because as you said, Auburn's supposed to be a heck of a lot better than they were before. At least that's what Auburn fans have told us, right? Then you've got right behind that, you got, Alabama, back-to-back weeks basically. So Auburn comes to town, then you travel to Tuscaloosa. That could be a murderer's row stretch. Those 2 games could really change and alter their season if Texas A&M doesn't go very well, right? That UMass game is interesting. I'm not even sure why that's happening, but I digress. If Missouri, historically, they're supposed to get another 10-win season because they usually do that. They usually get 1 10, 11-win season, a 12-win season, and they have another season back-to-back that's about around the same, and then that's when they fall off the cliff and go back to who they typically are, right? You mediocre around 6 to 7 wins on a regular basis, right? More so 5s too. But if they can keep themselves in pace as soon as they get to Oklahoma, there's a chance they can go to that Oklahoma game either undefeated or with 2 losses or maybe 3. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to see what things look like at that point. But I'm really curious if Missouri fans really think they're going to go down to College Station and win that game.
Well, I'm sure they do think that they're going to win that game.
Yeah.
Of course they do. But I think maybe we're sleeping on Texas A&M a little bit more. If Connor Weigman's healthy, I think that's a really good Texas A&M team. And if they don't win that one, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that you're beating Bama and Oklahoma.
And Auburn.
In a 3-week stretch. And Auburn. So, 8-4 to 10-2, I think is right kind of where they should land. I think probably they land at 9-3 and they don't get back to the 10-win season. But 9-3 isn't getting Missouri to the playoff. That's not happening. Nope. Sorry, Tigers. It's just not happening.
Not with this schedule.
Yeah. They could get some other teams to the playoff, but it's not getting Missouri to the playoff. But I think it's going to be a fun game. It'll be fun to see Caden Green. Listen, I know there's a lot of feelings about Caden Green and how that all went down. He's a good player. I enjoy watching him play football, so I'm going to be watching that as well. We'll see if we get a look at Williams Nwaneri on that one. But hey, they offered, or they also landed another really impressive offensive line prospect from SMU. So we got one from SMU. They got one from SMU.
Oh, yeah, Marcus Bryant.
Yep, Marcus Bryant, really good player. So they'll have a chance to be pretty good offensively. Again, it's just will the defense be able to maintain that level that they did last year?